Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf. About a month or 6 weeks ago or so, I did a video celebrating my 3 years on BookTube mid-May, and I asked you for your assumptions about me. And many of you commented, gave me assumptions, and it was really great. Thank you all. Some of the assumptions were not quite serious. And I answered some of them in the comment section on that video. I will leave a link to this original video down below. But some of them meant to be answered seriously in a video. So it took me a while. I'm sorry about that. But today I will answer your assumptions about me. But before I get into that, I have a service announcement. Because if you're following me and other booktubers, you know that many of us and people who don't have a channel but comment a lot are involved in the BookTube Prize, which is organized by Robert over at Haus. And we're now doing the semifinals, and in August, September, we will judge the final six. And then the winner will be announced beginning of October. And Robert is planning to organize a get-together party thingy in the Raleigh Durham area where he lives. I will leave a link to his announcement video down below, because I'm saying this because I hope that many of you will decide to come to this event. It's the first weekend of October, and Robert made a Google form. I will leave a link to that also, where you can submit the form telling Robert that you are planning on coming, because he has to organize the venue, make reservations for hotels and such. So please go watch Robert's video, and if you're planning on coming, which I hope you will, fill out the Google form so that Robert knows. Okay, this was the service announcement. Back to the assumptions. I will just read your assumptions off the screen one by one. So I haven't, grouped them or anything, but if people ask a question that I have already answered, I will not answer it a second time. Duh. Because this will take long enough. You know me, I'm not good with short answers, so I will probably split this answer video in two. But anyway, let's just start. Abirami PS said, I assume you're going to tell us about the time that you got arrested in the Turkish airport. We want to know. It's killing us. And Kay, hello Kay, one of my most supportive subscribers, seconded that. And Cheryl Holzenbeek said, yes, please. So I guess I will have to finally answer that question. Well, if you're following my channel, you know that I'm a lawyer by trade, and I worked as a lawyer for more than 25 years. I had an office in Amsterdam. And one of my clients in the late 1990s was Abdullah Öcalan, a name that is probably not familiar to you, but he was and is a Kurdish political leader. He was the chairman of the Kurdish PKK, and Turkey considered him a terrorist. He lived in Syria for a while, but then he had to flee Syria, and he was in Italy trying to get asylum in Europe. That didn't work out, and there was a whole travel odyssey, and finally he got arrested by the Turkish government in Kenya, and he was flown to Turkey. And when I heard about I was his lawyer. I have been his lawyer back at that time while he was in Italy already, and trying to get him asylum in Europe. And I was called to that he was arrested, and so I decided, together with two of my colleagues, to go immediately from Amsterdam to Istanbul in order to visit him in prison. But of course, the Turkish government didn't think that was a good idea. So I was arrested right off the plane when the plane landed in Istanbul, and taken to the airport prison. I only had to spend one night there, so it was not, a horrible experience. But I could never visit him, and I was flown back to Amsterdam the next day. So I've only seen the airport prison. It was quite a hilarious night. We had a colleague in Amsterdam who, announced my arrest to the ambassador. I had the German passport at that time, so the ambassador came and tried to visit us. That wasn't allowed either, but he brought a fruit basket, so that was nice. But anyway, that was the arrest story in Istanbul. The aftermath of it was less of a funny story, because that is my phone pinging. Sorry about that. Because the Turkish government was really, organizing protests against me. So I had to have police protection for a while, in Amsterdam, being taken to the office and from the office in a police car and stuff like that. That was less pleasant, and it's 20 years ago, because it was in 1998, and I'm still not allowed into Turkey. So I will probably never be able to visit Istanbul. But anyway, that's the arrest story, finally. On to more positive story. Eric from The Lonesome Reader, who is a lovely person and has a lovely channel, said, I assume that you're very organized and professional, since you seem to hold down a career and busy life while reading a huge amount of book. Well, this question of being an organized and methodical person comes up a lot, so I will answer it now once. I mean, thank you for assuming that. And I do think that I love, organizing, scheduling, making lists. I'm obsessive like that. It helps me, get all the various parts of my life in order. And at the moment, I'm having two part-time jobs. One is I'm a university professor at a university in the south of Holland, and I'm also a commissioner at the Dutch National Human Rights Institute. And then I write and I read, and I need to organize my time in order to fit all these various aspects into it. But I think that it's easier for me, because I live by myself. So I don't have a partner, I don't have kids. In other words, I can organize my life in a way that suits me and only me. I don't have to take anybody else's needs immediately into account in my daily life. I mean, I have friends, and but that's not the same. So I think it's much easier for me to organize my life, and I should look into the camera and not stare onto the questions. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, Elizabeth Saunders says, I assume you follow the Stellar Prize list closely. Well, yes, I do now. But again, that is not so much congratulating myself, but it's mainly due to BookTube, and especially to Jacqueline from 6 Minutes for Me, who is an Australian booktuber but living in Texas now. And she really, in her channel, she promotes Australian literature a lot. And because I became friends with her, I started to follow the Stellar Prize and other Australian prizes, and to really look for Australian literature much more than I did before I knew her. So it's thanks to her that I'm following the Stellar Prize. Alba from Seriella, a wonderful channel, by the way. You should definitely go and check her out. She's a Puerto Rican booktuber. And if you start watching her, her introduction is in Spanish, but don't click away. All her videos, the main portion of her videos is in English. But anyway, she said, I assume that you continue to practice law sometimes, and that you enjoy a reading challenge challenge as evidenced by tackling the big Genji with Sean, and of course that you have a keen sense of justice. Well, I do like a reading challenge, but again, I think that I read much more widely and tackle books that I wouldn't probably have tackled all by myself, thanks to BookTube and Buddy Reads. Like Genji, that 11th century Japanese tome of 1,200 pages, I don't think I would have read that if I hadn't done a Buddy Read with Sean. And I don't think I will ever go back to practicing law. I've been, as I said, previously a lawyer for more than 20 years, and now I do other legal work. I teach, and I'm a commissioner at the Dutch Human Rights Institute, but I don't think I will go back to practicing. And yes, a keen sense of justice. I think if you are a lawyer, you need a sense of justice, because otherwise, what's the point? DJC Silva said, I assume that you are a calm, collected, and methodical person, and I assume that you always look chic and impeccable, judging from your videos. So, well, thank you very much for thinking that I'm looking chic in my videos, but I don't always look that way at all. When I'm at home alone, which I'm a lot when I'm writing or reading, I love to veg out on the couch, and I'm wearing, my oldest jumpsuit, tracksuit bottoms and t-shirts with holes, because they feel comfortable, not wearing makeup, not having my hair done, and you should see me in the morning. I don't have a selfie, but it looks something like that, just to give you an idea. And about the calm and collected, I don't know. You probably have to ask my friends about that, and I don't think they would agree. I can have quite a temper. Maria Jesus Tovar de Dios had a lot of assumptions. You're an intelligent and educated woman. Yes, of course. Thank you very much. Who has a wide knowledge not only about literature, but also about the world global situation, politics, economy, and so on. Well, I'm interested in politics, for sure. I don't know about the wide knowledge. I think when you are older, you hopefully acquire some knowledge. So it's not in any way, wider than other person's knowledge. She also says you have clearly defined ideas, but you are also open-minded. I can only say yes to that, of course. What else should I say? I hope that I'm open-minded, and yes, I do have certain ideas that are quite firm. You are a very organized person, and you like having a schedule. Well, I talked about the organization part already, and I do like to have a schedule because it helps me get things done. I'm a very lazy person naturally, so what I need to have is deadlines and schedules, even if they are only self-imposed, but they help me to get shit done. Making friends is one of your gifts, she also says, and you are an outgoing person. Well, I don't know about that. I'm not an extrovert at all. I don't make friends easily. I don't like big gatherings, big, amounts of people. I do have friends, really good friends, mostly long-time friends, but that's only a handful, and that's okay with me. So I don't need a huge social network of people that I see regularly. Joseph David Quinton says, congratulations, you have a wonderful channel that I consume regularly. Well, thank you very much. That's very nice. And I assume you are family-oriented and had a great love for your mother. Well, family-oriented, I have a very small family. I'm an only child. So I'm friend-oriented, that's for sure. And as with most women, I didn't get along with my mother when I was in my teenage years, but now the relationship is wonderful. My mother is 88. My father died about 6 years ago, and I visit her regularly. So yeah, in that sense, it's true. Adriana C says, congratulations, thank you very much. And her assumptions are, you are more of a coffee drinker than a tea drinker. That's absolutely true. I mean, I love a good cup of tea now and again, but I'm a coffee junkie. That's for sure. You like classical music more than modern one. I think that's true also. I love opera, for instance, and my modern music is 80s. That's when I was young and that's when I went out dancing. So that's the music I still listen to when I want to listen to modern music. And three, since you studied law, you cringe every time you read about court procedures in books. Oh, that's absolutely, definitely true. I hate it when they get things wrong. I always think if you write about something like the law or court procedures or police procedurals, you should get it right. It's one of my bookish pet peeves for sure. Sandra Rice said, Britta, your channel is a jewel. Well, thank you. I'm blushing now, I think. I assume you hold back information about yourself or feelings in order to see whether friends or acquaintances are perceptive about you. Well, I don't know whether I do that in order to, but I'm quite a private person, so I don't share my feelings with everybody. And I think there are only a handful of friends, some of them on BookTube, by the way, who know stuff about me that I don't share publicly. So in that sense, it's true. Rashmika likes books, also a very lovely channel, by the way. You've wanted to be a lawyer since you were about 12 years old. It was one of your dreams since you have an interest in spreading justice. To Kill a Mockingbird and other legal related books have influenced that. I wanted to be a lawyer, I think, from my teenage years. That's true. I had a great admiration for a couple of lawyers in Germany who were very famous at that point. But it was more something that developed. Like becoming a lawyer was not a childhood or teenage dream of mine. And To Kill a Mockingbird is still a book that I use when I teach, for instance, and it's one of the books that is important to me as a lawyer, but I wouldn't say that it was a book that influenced my decisions. Okay, we're at 17 something minutes and not even halfway through. I knew it. So I will break this up now and continue with the second part and maybe even a third part, giving my waffling. But anyway, so far, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching the first part, and I'll see you back in the second part soon. Bye-bye.